Welcome everybody to Crypto Rosetta. My name is Savage. Today we're going to be having a look at BTC. This is going to be a lower time frame video. We do have a higher time frame video up above, so check that out if you haven't already. Let's get into the charts and see what's going on. What I'm still looking for is these two options here. So we were discussing the potential that from further back here, what we had is three waves down for an A. This is a B wave, and then looking for this as a C wave to the downside. Now we did also have the alternative where this could be W, X, and Y, and what we're looking for is effectively this low to be our low and looking for some kind of a reaction to the upside. The way that this has actually failed to develop is making it much more likely that within these two structures that this one is more likely to be playing out. Now within this idea here, what we'd be saying is that we are looking for this as a C wave to the downside. And what we were talking about within this is that we were looking for the potential of a 5-wave move to the downside. Now, within this count, what we would be saying is that we have this as our wave 1, this is our wave 2 here. Our wave 3 actually has a truncation in it over here. We have this as a zigzag for the wave 4, and what we are looking for is a wave 5 to the downside. Invalidation of this comes by crossing above this 28,585, and until we actually start to break up into those levels, the likelihood is that we still have a little bit more downside to come here. There is always potential that we could actually extend out here where this actually becomes another 1, 2, and we start to see a much bigger breakdown here, but for the time being, what I'm treating this as is still within this fifth wave. Now, our common target area that we're looking for this fifth would be this 24,514 to this 23,495. Now, within this idea here, what this would then do is that if we overlay this would actually bring us down into some of these lower levels that we've been looking for here for this C wave, which would be between this 25,360 and this 23,646. So if we do see price continuing to push down here, I'm going to be very interested in this yellow target box that we have over here, as well as some of these other levels here, which are also aligning with potentially looking to come back down into these lows here, this 24,816, which would also bring us back up into some of these highs. So this 1.382 area here of this 24,691 is going to be an interesting zone to keep an eye on moving forward. Now, like I said, within this, what we're looking for is this idea of the fifth wave here. Now, if we are looking at this as a 5-wave move, it is technically possible to say that what we could have here is that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. However, there is a way of counting this where we actually just include this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into here, and we're still looking for this fifth wave down. So until we actually break through the typical fourth wave rejection area here, which would be this 26,436 level, I am still anticipating another move to the downside here. Now, if this is just a fourth and a fifth, that could potentially look to push us down into this 25,140 to this 24,829 level. Now, invalidation of this comes by crossing this wave 1 here at this 27,017. It is possible that we could have actually completed this already if we are looking at this as a fourth wave. The time relationship that we have now between the wave 2 and the wave 4 here is actually come up to the 3 times the length. Now, I don't really like to see this fourth wave get bigger than the 4 times length, which would be on the 5th of September at 1 o'clock. So if we are looking at this as a fourth wave here, it is looking quite corrective. There is potentially something in the lower degree count, so we're going to go over here as a potential bullish move where we still got one more push to the upside here. But effectively, what I would be looking for is that this move fails to actually break through this 26,436 level, and then we start to see price moving to the downside. 25,140 to this 24,829 would be the typical fifth wave area. If we start to push down through these levels, we need to start to be careful of the idea of extension, because then that could mean that somewhere within here we could be extending out, where this could be 1, 2, this could be another 1, 2 here, and then we could actually see a more violent push to the downside. But for confirmation of something like that, given the current structure, what we would have to see here would be a move past the 1.618, which is sitting down here towards this 22,772. If we start to see price action breaking down past that level, this would imply that within here we actually have this as a 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we're actually looking for a bigger break to the downside. But at the moment, I'm just tracking for this idea of this fifth wave to the downside. If this does come in, then it's going to be very interesting to see what happens after that point, because if we do see something like that and we do see this additional push down, within the idea of this being an ABC pattern, what we would then be expecting is this 5-wave move to complete as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we'd be looking for that reversal to the upside. Now, confirmation of this as a flat correction over here would be actually moving back above this high of this 30,804. Until we actually break back above that point, we'd have to be very careful, because what we could still see here is that we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. We get 3 waves back to the upside, fail to break back above this, and this is actually a much bigger structure looking to break down in a bigger way. So we need to be very careful of this idea that if we do complete this as a 5-wave structure here, it's going to be important what happens after that point. 5 waves to the upside could indicate that the bullish count is in play, and we're going to start to see price looking to break to the upside here. Alternatively, if we just get a 3-wave move to the upside here, this could then actually indicate that we still have that continuation to the downside to come here, and we could be within a bigger corrective structure, or this move here could start to become impulsive to the downside. So we need to be very careful of that idea. Now, coming in here more locally, what I'm looking for within this count is that, like I said, we could potentially argue that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, if that's the case, what we would be saying is that actually our move completes here, and we're looking to break to the upside from this point. Until we actually take this high, though, of this 28,148, the likelihood, in my opinion, is still to the downside. Alternatively, like we said here, we could have this additional 4th and a 5th, and then it's going to be important what happens after that point. Failure to break back above the high is going to indicate continuation down. However, if we do look to complete here, and we do look to actually invalidate this by crossing this wave 1, it's still going to be important what happens, because if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we could just see a bigger corrective move to the upside here before still looking for that continuation down. Now, if we are looking at that idea, what we could see is something along these lines. Now, within this idea here, what I'm looking for is the fact that we could have this as our A wave over here. This is a B wave. Now, in this area here, what we do have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this could actually become 1, 2, and then we could see 3, 4, and a 5 to the upside. Now, if this is the case, what this would be tracking then is the idea that this is A, this is B, and then we're looking for a C wave. Now, if we're looking for the C wave here, this 1-to-1 area here is at this 26,414, which would be an interesting area. Higher zones that I'll be keeping an eye on would be the 1236, the 1382, and this 1618. Now, within the bullish case where we're saying that we could potentially complete into this low here, what we need to be careful of is that if this is A, this is B, and we start to push up above this 1618 here of this 26,802 level, this could actually start to indicate that we're starting to see some kind of a reversal from this point. And what we'd then be looking for would be this to be 1, 2, 3. We'd look for a 4th and then a 5th wave up. From this area here, we'd have to be a bit careful, because it is possible that we could argue that this is A, this whole move is a flat, and then we have this as a C, and then we're going to see continuation down, though I don't really like it because the B wave would be extremely large. It would become more likely then if we start to see moves up past this 26,802 and developing good 5-wave structure to the upside here, that we could actually start to reverse from this point, in which case we'd get a 5-wave move to the upside. Then we'd look for 3 waves down, looking to maintain this low and then seeing continuation up. Now, this could always just become A, B, and C, and then we look to break down. Alternatively, it could start to become a bigger 5-wave move, but we don't have enough, confirmation of this. What I'm looking for currently is that at the moment, this, as long as this B wave holds at this 25,800, we have the possibility of this C wave playing out. Now, if we are looking at this as a C wave, we also need to just be aware that we could also potentially argue here that we have this as something like an A wave into here. So this would be ABC for wave 1. This is 2, then we'd be looking for something like a diagonal pattern to develop here. This is the other way that we could see this, where this whole move becomes our wave 1, we get this as a wave 2, we have this as a 3, 4, and 5. Now, what we'd be expecting then, it would be this to be A, B, and C in a 3-wave pattern, and then we'd be looking for another 3-wave move down and another 3-wave move to the upside. This would be given the current structure that we've got here. If we do continue to maintain within these lines, what I would be then looking for is, depending on where this completes, we could then be looking for something along the lines that this whole move actually becomes an A wave. We get a retracement down, find support above this 786 at this 25 0.513, and then look for another push to the upside. So this could still align with this move being a corrective move, but looking for this as a wave A or wave 1, and then looking for, basically the idea of this is looking for the potential of a break to the upside, though everything is currently suggesting that we should see downside come in. But I'm just being mindful that we do have the potential of this being counted as 5 waves here. We have this smaller 5-wave move over here, which has still maintained its low at this 25.877. If we do continue to hold these lows, what we can then see is that this could become 1 2 1 2, then we start to see 3 4 5 4 5, and then this could look to actually extend up here. So this is why I'm just being mindful of this idea that it could be an incomplete move here, where we could still look at this as a corrective structure, but we still need to actually push up here first before that continuation to the downside. Now, coming out here, I just want to discuss some of the ideas that we've been talking about on the bigger picture here. So within the bullish count, effectively what we are talking about is that this Z wave could actually complete into these lows here, and what we were looking for was the potential of a break to the upside. Now, we were saying that what we could have here is that this move here is effectively 1 2 1 2, in which case what we're looking for is a bigger break to the upside. Now, the 1.618 of the white count here is sitting at this 52.484, so this would be saying that we need to basically see a push up towards this 1618 for confirmation. Now, the problem within this count is that it would be suggesting that this is another 1 2 here, and even though we haven't technically broken the low here at this 24,800, it is looking quite likely that this is going to happen. Now, if we are looking at this as effectively this is 1 and 2, we need to see price breaking above 37,606 for confirmation that this is going to be developing into a 5-wave structure. Until we do that, we need to just be aware of that more bearish case here, where we still have that possibility of breaking this low and looking for that as a C wave. Now, if we do develop that C wave, what we could see here is that actually this whole move from further back here is an A wave into this high here. This is A, B, and we have this as 1 2 3 4, and then if we see that break to the downside, what we could see then is a retest of these lower levels here. So we've already come down to this 0.236, which would be a very rare target for a wave 2. It's not that rare for a B wave, but it is more rare for a wave 2 here. Now, if we're looking at this idea, what we would be then saying is that if we do look to push down lower here, we have this 0.382, which could potentially offer us support. We have the 50% here. Then we have the golden pocket down in this 20,179 to this 19,735 area, which could be quite an interesting zone, to be honest. Looking to backtest some of the structure here, we do also have some daily, weekly, and monthly naked points of control in this area. And then lower down here we have this 786, which would be a retest of the bottom of this level. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on this as price continues to develop here. In case we start to see a bigger move to the downside, these lower levels here could be quite interesting. Potentially this golden pocket one with the idea of swing failing this low could be quite an interesting area to keep an eye on moving forward. Now, within the bearish case here, what we could still say is that we're looking for a bigger push to the upside here before that continuation to the downside. Now, the idea here would be that what we could actually have from further back here is that this is our W wave. We have this as a flat for the W wave here. This is our X, and then we're looking for another 3-wave move up. So within this idea, we were discussing that possibility that we could still have another ABC pattern looking to play out here, in which case our support box here is going to be this area here of this 382, which we've already come into, and then we have this 50% sitting down here at this 24,617. Now, as a flat correction, a common zone for these to look to target is in between these areas. We have come down into this. We need to respect that idea that we could start to see a reversal from here, but there's nothing suggesting it currently. So until we actually start to see evidence of that, I am still expecting that price could still move one more time to the downside here, looking to potentially test out the lower range of the support box, which would be here at towards this 24,255 level, which would also align with coming into that 50% area. So need to keep an eye on this and see how the waves actually develop here, but it is possible that we could still look for a move to the upside after this completes, and then look for a move down at a later point. So coming in here and having a look at the daily CPR lines, what we can see is that these are printing higher daily CPR lines. We still are below this previous CPR line here that we've got. Now, what I want to see here is how we react. We can see these are very tightly spread, which is indicating volatility. Now, if we do look to continue to find resistance here at this 25,970, we could see price actually be gravitated to the downside. Some targets for today would be this 25,804. 25,634, 25,464, and this 25,299 as potential downside targets. This lower one here could align quite nicely with the idea of having a fifth wave. If, however, we start to see price finding support above this line, we could see price look to actually test out some of these higher zones, 26,132, 26,306, 26,470, and this 26,641 as possible upside targets for today. Now, moving over here and having a look at the weekly CPR lines, what we can see is that we are currently underneath our central CPR lines. Now, within this, what we can see is that we've actually printed a slightly higher CPR line. They are quite wide. Now, this typically indicates that we're going to see some ranging price action looking to take place here. Now, if we do look to move to the upside here, we do have potential to find resistance at this 26,214. We have this 26,494 and this 26,733. So this would align with that idea that if we are looking for this as a bigger ABC pattern, we could look to move into some of these weekly central lines and look to find resistance at them. Now, if we are looking at this as developing as a diagonal pattern, potentially it could be towards this 26,233. If it's going to be a bigger impulse towards the end here, where this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then we could actually look to test out some of those higher levels. If we do look to continue to the downside and we don't look to come back up and retest these levels, I would then be looking out for this potential to target out this 24,816, which would align with the idea here that what we could be looking for is the potential of this 5-wave structure, looking to push down one more time here for this 5th wave, where internally what we'd be saying is that this 5th wave target is somewhere down here towards this 25,140 to this 24,829. So that's what I'm looking out for with this S1 line here, towards this 24,820 level. Now, if we do look further down here, we also do have this 23,679 and this 22,049 as potential downside targets for this week. Other targets that we do have above us, if we do manage to reclaim these central lines for this week, would become this 27,625, 29,299, and this 30,430. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on these levels, particularly in relationship to these central lines. If we continue to push up and into these and we start to find support above these, we could look for that possibility of a break to the upside. If we start to find rejection here, or we fail to actually push into them, the next target I'd be looking to the downside would be this 24,825. Moving over and having a look at the monthly pivots here, what we can see is that we also have new monthly pivots. We are currently underneath these. We haven't actually retested these at any point. So if we do look to move up here, 26,519 is going to be an interesting zone to keep an eye on. 27,105 and this 27,694 is potential rejection areas directly above us. If, however, we do see price continuing to break to the downside here, I'll be keeping an eye on this 23,995 as a potential support zone. Lower down here, we also do have confluence with our yellow target boxes at this 22,036 and this area down here, this 18,920 as potential downside targets for this month if we fail to reclaim these central lines. If, however, we start to move up here and we do manage to reclaim these areas, what we could then see is price could actually be gravitated towards some of these higher levels of this 29,046. We have this 32,190 and this 34,126 as potential upside targets for this month. Okay, so I'm going to leave the video there. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please smash the like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, turn on those bell notifications so you never miss a video. Leave us some feedback down below, and also in the description you will find a link to the Discord. Come check it out, it's free to join. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.